Hello YouTubers out there, this is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So today we're talking about the film Halloween Kills, which is the second sequel to the original 1978 original film Halloween by John Carpenter. Just so that we keep things in some sort of numerical perspective, this is the second sequel only because the first sequel, which was simply called Halloween, was a direct sequel to the original 1978 film and ignored all the other sequels that came after it. And that includes, of course, Rob Zombie's remake and its own sequel. So, this one is called Halloween Kills, which is part of a trilogy, but technically, if you think about it, this is the second sequel in an alternate universe of a Halloween. Yeah, whatever. Okay. It's so confusing. So, Halloween Kills is certainly a improvement, I think, over the last David Gordon Green and Danny McBride film, Halloween. Why that one was just called Halloween, I don't know. It seems to be a thing nowadays. You know, you do another sequel to Fast and Furious, and you just call it Fast and Furious, as opposed to The Fast and The Furious. But this is the way things are nowadays. So, moving right along, let's get to Halloween Kills. It is an improvement. There were things about it I did like, and other aspects of it that I thought went a little too far in the unnecessary killings. A lot of people that have seen this film that I know of they liked the fact that Michael Myers kills a lot of people in this film, which he does, and just to backtrack, it's not nearly as brutal as anything from Rob Zombie's Halloween, which was exceedingly brutal. I mean, it's almost unwatchable, as if this was violence really for the sake of violence and no other reason. It almost had nothing to do with Michael Myers' destructive path of homicide, if you like. So let's get to the killings, number one. At the end of the first Halloween, or the second, geez, whatever you want to call it, the one from 2018, we'll just say that, he is in a house that belongs to Laurie Strode, and supposedly he's supposed to burn to death in there, but the firefighters arrive and he kills a few of the firefighters. It's a little gory, but it cuts away fairly quickly, so you don't really see too much. But then there are killings that I thought to myself, I don't really understand the purpose. One is a gay couple who happened to live in the Myers house. Now, that technically makes sense, because after all, that's the house where Michael Myers had killed his sister back in 1963. So the fact that he returns there makes sense. And the final confrontation with the Haddonfield townsfolk and Michael Myers is pretty good, and it happens right in front of the Myers house, or at least close to it, I think. Maybe another street down the street from it or something, but nevertheless, that I understand. Why make the couple gay? I don't know. I mean, obviously, there are gay couples, but it's just strange. And another one is the interracial couple who live together. Now, again, this really shouldn't be a big deal, but again, I didn't understand why Michael Myers, at one point, he kills the husband, and the wife has already been stabbed through the neck with I think it was a fluorescent bulb, right through the neck. I mean, you talk about vicious, gory details, there you go. And he repeatedly stabs the man who's already dead, and stabs him again, and again, and again, and it's from her point of view. Again, I didn't understand the purpose. To me, it seemed as if the filmmakers thought that this was essential to the film. When you think back to the original Halloween, that is to say, the 1978 original film, all of it was imagined, all the gore. You didn't really see anything. The most that you saw was that Michael Myers stabs Laurie Strode on the shoulder, and you see her shirt rip, and you see, obviously, a stab wound. But it isn't grisly. And I think that's the difference between Halloween and even Halloween 2 from 1981, which was also gory, but not grisly. I mean, not really. You know, I can live without certain things in that movie, particularly the hypodermic needle being inserted into someone's eye. I mean, that was Halloween 2, 1981. And that was just the beginning, really, around that time, of the slasher film mentality, where you started to see a lot of gruesome killings. But even in those films, many of them are disposable slasher pictures, I think. They're not grisly. Not really. This film was a little grisly. It stayed with those details for a second too long, I thought. It's not to be a prude about violence. There's a lot of it out there, a lot of bloody violence in TV shows. But I just didn't understand the need for that, and particularly for citing them as an interracial couple or a gay couple, and to kill them in a grisly fashion. It just goes far beyond. It seems almost innocent when Michael Myers used to really just stab people. This is like poking eyes out and everything else. It's a little too much. Why those two scenes were necessary, I don't know. I would have understood it more. First of all, I don't even know what Michael Myers is really trying to do in these movies. It seems as if he's after Laurie Strode, or at least in the case of the last film, Laurie Strode is after Michael Myers. She does return in this movie, Jamie Lee Curtis. It's almost an extended cameo. She doesn't do much because she has a knife wound in her gut that requires stitches and a hospital stay, and she tries to get out, but she doesn't make it very far down the hospital corridor. Unlike, say, Halloween 2, where she is relentlessly dragging her feet through the hospital in that movie. But I didn't, again, those particular murders, as they're shown, just doesn't seem necessary. It's almost like marking time a little bit. And I began to wonder. But, on the other hand, there is much to savor in this film, and I was a bit surprised. I wasn't saying I was ready to hate it, but it's a noticeable improvement over the other film, because I got a clear idea of how Tommy Doyle, who's played by a very angry and really grown up, this guy is Anthony Michael Hall, is far removed from the nerd that he played in 16 Candles, and I've seen him in other films since then where he played more adult roles, but this is the most intense Anthony Michael Hall performance I've seen. Very controlled performance, very well done. I like the return of Kyle Richards, who played, I forgot her name, but she was the little girl, with the pigtails in the first Halloween film from '78. Seeing her return was fun. But again, it just, then there's a scene inside a truck, and, you see, Nancy Stevens returns, Marion Chambers, who was the assistant to Dr. Loomis and a nurse. And Lindsay, by the way, Kyle Richards played Lindsay Wallace. Okay, Tommy's friend. But even her return, and then to see her in a scene that mimics the original film inside the vehicle, and his hand, reaches through the glass. That was kind of fun, but then she's killed off very quickly, even though she tries to fire a gun that has no bullets in it, and says, "This is for Dr. Loomis." She's killed kind of graphically, and then another guy who is a doctor is killed, a knife right through the face. Again, these type of things, again, I'm not always bothered by them, but I just feel my heart sinks a little bit remembering what the original Halloween film did. It did it through atmosphere, suggestion. These new movies don't seem to really do that. But this film, I will say, was entertaining, despite the gory stuff. And again, it doesn't linger for too long, only a couple scenes. I was entertained by it. I was never bored for a second. There were things I didn't fully understand that didn't make a whole lot of sense, like the escape patient that somehow the Haddonfield town thinks is Michael Myers. And this is a guy with stringy hair, one of the patients who escaped a corrections bus that in the first film got into some sort of accident, which is why Michael Myers escaped in the first place. Now, but what does work is Anthony Michael Hall as Tommy Doyle. Certainly it was nice to see Charles Cyphers as Lee Brackett, the former sheriff of Haddonfield. I like the idea of Tommy Doyle kind of being the leader of the Haddonfield folk to fight back at Michael Myers. It's almost remind me a lot of the Universal Horror Pictures, where they went after Frankenstein's monster with torches, and They all got together as a mob, so I liked the mob mentality that was present in this film. And Judy Greer also was terrific as Laurie's daughter. I thought she was short-shrifted in the other film, the 2018 Halloween. But that was fun. I liked also the flashback to just after the events of the original Halloween 1978 film, where we see Michael Myers and there's the Will Patton's sheriff deputy who was shown as a younger Frank Hawkins, who kills one of the other police officers who's being held by Michael. He doesn't know what to do, and he shoots him in the neck by, it's not something he wanted to do, but he does it. So there's a lot of stuff here that does work. It's still entertaining. I wouldn't call it scary. It's really hard to be scared by Michael Myers nowadays. There's probably a way to make this much more effective than it has been, but this is probably the best that they've done thus far since Halloween H20. So I think they're back on track with these. Interestingly, they don't, even in the flashbacks, there's a flashback they use from Halloween 2, the 1981 film. I have to stress the dates because this all gets very confusing, as I'm sure many of you realize, with all this retconning and everything else. And it's footage of the deputy, or the former sheriff, Brackett, when he sees his daughter Annie being taken in a stretcher to the ambulance and she's dead. And that was footage from that film. So it's funny that they ignore all the sequels, but they still showed a clip of Halloween 2 there. As I said, there's much to enjoy. It's just... there's much to savor. I didn't watch this film and feel like I forgot pretty much all of it that I've seen. In other words, it didn't really... I didn't feel like it got erased from my memory after seeing it. Whereas the last picture, I kind of thought it was a little mediocre and run-of-the-mill, despite a really good performance by Jamie Lee Curtis, who's always good no matter what, and especially in this role of Laurie Strode. I liked how the mob finally confronts Michael, and they start really beating him, and Anthony Michael Hall's determination, especially carrying a baseball bat called Old Huckleberry. So there was a lot here to really savor. I really enjoyed the picture overall. I also like Andy Matichak, I think is her name, as Allison Nelson, Laurie's granddaughter. And she gets to have her moment where she almost, she says, "Hey, you MF," to Michael Myers after she sees him break the neck of her boyfriend, her boyfriend's neck. So there was a lot here that worked, but there was just as much that I thought, again, the gory killings were just over the top, and they lingered a little too lovingly with the blood, I thought. That's just my impression. Overall, I like the picture. It seems some of the characters weren't necessary to bring back, like Nancy Stevens as Marion Chambers. Why the hell would she still be living in Haddonfield and hanging out with Lindsay Wallace? I don't... That was a little strange to me. But it was great to see, particularly that opening, the flashback to 1978. I thought they handled that very well. It almost looked like lost footage from the original Halloween, and they even seemed to bring in an actor who looked a lot like Donald Pleasance playing Dr. Loomis, so that was nice. So overall, a fair movie. I would say it's pretty good. Recommended with reservations. If you like the Halloween movies overall, you'll probably enjoy this one. I say it's certainly an improvement over the last 2018 Halloween. And those are my thoughts, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe to my channel. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.